Welcome to the Pre to Post Transplant Podcast, a podcast that brings personal stories from transplant survivors, their families, friends, and loved ones. This is where you will hear challenges and triumphs of everyone involved in this journey. Our guests will offer wisdom, advice, and inspiration on everything you want to know about transplant. My name is Jenny McFarland. I am a transplant survivor, and this is a podcast I wish I had before and immediately following my transplant. Thank you for listening. Hey everybody, Jenny McFarland here, your host of the Pre to Post Transplant Podcast. I am excited for the episode today. I just want to remind you guys to leave a rating and review on the Apple Podcast platform, and also go onto the website at www.pretoposttx.com, and that's where you can find all the episodes. You can leave a comment, suggestion, you can reach out to me if you want to be on the show, and it has a lot of great stuff on there. It's been a little bit of a hard week for me. I lost a very dear friend of mine this week. His name was Melvin, and he was a double lung / kidney recipient, and he was also a board member on my foundation, and he passed away this week. And some of you who listen may have known him. He was a great man. He was well respected in the community, especially in Houston, and I got the opportunity to go to his funeral. And I will say that that's the one funeral that I've been to that I didn't feel super sad. Not because, I didn't care about Melvin, but it was because his family and friends really tried hard to make that funeral as more of a celebration of his life. And I really felt that that's what we were doing there, was celebrating his life. And the funny thing is I've been wanting to ask Melvin to be on this podcast for a while now. He has a great story. He had a double lung transplant, and then his daughter gave him her kidney, and it was an incredible story. And I just feel sad that I didn't get the chance to have him on here to tell you all his story. He was funny, and he made me laugh, and he would have made you laugh. And I had the best intentions. I was going to ask him, and then life got in the way, and he got sick, and so it just didn't happen. So this is just a reminder to not take anything for granted. Don't take any of your time left here for granted. Don't take any of your time with your loved ones for granted. And if you want to do something, then do it now. Don't wait, because you never know what's going to happen. And so I just wanted to say that he was a board member on the Pre to Post Transplant Foundation, and he was part of the founding members, and he did great things with the foundation, and the foundation is going to miss him dearly. And speaking of the foundation, I just want to remind you guys about our buddy program. This episode is going to talk a little bit about support systems, and I just want to remind you guys that the Pre to Post Transplant Foundation has a great support systems for everybody in the transplant community. And if you are somebody in the community and you have something to give, some sort of knowledge or inspiration or motivation that you want to share with somebody else who's going through something that you have already been through, I encourage you to log onto the website and sign up for our buddy program. And also, if you're pre-transplant or you're a caregiver and you're just going through this process, or you're thinking about donating your organs as a living donor or anything, sign up for this program. It's a great program. It's connecting people, and I'm so proud of it, and I hope that you guys log on. Now, the guest I have on today, they have a great foundation, and she's going to talk all about it. This is a great informational episode, and I'm going to put all of their information in my show notes for you guys so you can easily find their information. So, without further ado, let's jump into this episode and help me welcome Tara Storch. Hi, Tara. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, you are a donor mom, and I can't wait to hear about your story. So, what I would like to ask you first is where you're from, how old was your child, and how many organs was she able to donate?
Yeah, so I'm from the Dallas area, lived here almost 30 years in the Dallas area. And it was March of 2010 that we were on our spring break vacation in Beaver Creek, Colorado, having a great time as a family. And it was on that last run of the day where Taylor had an accident on the slopes, doing everything right, wearing a helmet, good athlete. And she ended up going into the trees and hitting a tree. And it was from that accident that we lost her. And she was care flighted to Grand Junction, Colorado. And we were met with a huge group of doctors who quickly told us what we were facing, that she was not going to survive the injuries. And it was soon after that that a sweet nurse approached my husband and I while we were standing by Taylor's bedside and said, "She's a beautiful candidate for organ donation. Would you please consider it?" And we had never talked about organ donation in our family, Jenny, not even once. I mean, I think maybe I had checked my driver's license, but it wasn't a conversation we had in our home. But we knew in our hearts that Taylor would have absolutely said yes to that question. She was such an others centered, such a giving child that we knew she would have said yes. So we did say yes on her behalf, and Taylor saved and improved the lives of 5 people with the gift of her heart, both kidneys, her liver, pancreas, and she gave sight with her cornea.
Oh, wow.
And and it was through that, our path, that one yes, really created a different path for us. And I remember standing, next to my husband in the hospital room and looking at my husband after we had said yes and said, "I don't know what this is inside me, but I have such a longing to hear her heartbeat again when that happens." And I mean, I didn't know much about organ donation at that time, but it was just such this longing in me. And I did know we'd have to meet, obviously, the recipient who received her heart, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. And we were very blessed to be able to connect with that person just a few months later. And that story actually was shown on Good Morning America, which really kind of launched everything for us nationally.
Yeah.
So
when how old was she?
She was just 13 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. 8th grade.
Oh my gosh. So whenever you were approached by the nurses for, to tell you about the organ donation, and you said, 100% she would want to do that. Did you struggle with that decision at first just because you hadn't talked about it? Or was it an automatic, yes, this is what we want to do?
It really was an automatic yes. I mean, out of all the decisions that we were having to make during that time, that was the easiest thing to say yes to. It was truly one of those things where my husband and I just looked at each other and locked eyes and were like, absolutely. It was not a one of us thinking different or should we, or it was really an automatic yes, because we just knew in that moment it was the right decision for our family and what Taylor would have chosen. We really feel that.
Yeah. And so how long was that process from the time of the accident to the time of making that decision?
Well, I mean, the accident was on the 14th. She was declared, not able to recover on the 15th.
Oh, okay.
And the process started immediately with that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you told me about all these wonderful people who got her gift. When did you find out about those recipients? I mean, when did you find out, her heart went to somebody, her kidneys went to somebody?
You know what? While we were in the hospital, actually,
Mm.
when I think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Once a
Yeah.
donor family like us says yes, there's so much that is put into place and into motion at that moment. And little did we know the logistics that were going on behind, matching those organs. But
Right.
I time was lost in the hospital for me on what and
Sure.
when. But I do know that the nurse came to us and said, we want to share with you some beautiful news. Her heart is going to a woman in Arizona. Her kidneys and pancreas are staying in Colorado. So we were learning along the way, obviously not detailed, but
Yeah.
just sharing with us that the gifts that she was giving were making an impact. And that brought us some sort of purpose a little bit to the pain, that there
Yeah.
was good happening. And so, which really kind of happened when we came back from Colorado. I mean, we knew we had a choice. We were either going to cave up in the grief or we were going to find the good. And the good was that Taylor saved lives. And so
Yeah.
that was what we wanted to focus on. And my husband, his grandfather always used to say this when he was little. And he told me, he said, this is coming in my head so much. He said, I remember my grandfather saying, Todd, it's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react to it that does. And
Mm.
that really started just to bubble up for him. And I mean, don't get me wrong, of course it mattered that we lost Taylor.
Of
It
course. Yeah.
shattered our family, but we knew our reaction to this was going to be important, especially to our other two children. And so we made the mindset that we were going to focus on the good. And, back then in 2010, we started doing a lot of research about organ donation. And we learned that, the great state of Texas where we lived really only had 2% of registered organ donors in this entire state, too.
Yeah.
And that was really kind of the catalyst for my husband to really start Taylor's Gift Foundation with the engine to share the importance of organ donation and how to register. And it's just really, really grown since then over the years.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Well, before we get into that, let me ask you. You mentioned that you wanted to hear the heartbeat again. Have you been able to
Mm-hmm.
do that? Have you been able to meet any of the recipients?
Yes, we've met 4 out of the 5 recipients.
That's
And
wonderful.
I think I said earlier that, that when we were able to meet her heart recipient, that story was aired on Good Morning
Oh,
America.
you did say that. I'm
And
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. So that was amazing. We have met her heart recipient. We have met her, um, both. A man has her kidney and pancreas, and another young man has her kidney. A young boy has her liver, and a special needs girl in South Dakota has her cornea. And we are in touch with 4 out of the 5 recipients, which is just amazing
Yeah.
to have these relationships with them.
Yeah.
It's a
That is
blessing.
amazing.
It's a blessing.
So I just want to hear about how it was when you were able to listen to her heartbeat again. Like, how did that make you feel whenever you, whenever you
You
got to
know,
hear it again?
that's a question I've gotten before, and it's really hard to describe, right? Because
Yeah.
the only way I can describe it, it was every emotion wrapped into one. It was bitter, it was sweet, it was joy, it was sorrow, it was anger, it was happiness. It was every emotion was right there. Everything was right there.
Yeah.
But, and people have asked, meeting her heart recipient at that time, did it bring you peace? And I don't think it will ever be at peace that we lost Taylor. But what it did, it gave us so much strength that the decision we made to donate her organs was the right one for our family.
Yeah.
But it was a powerful moment and something I will never ever forget.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the foundation, about Taylor's Gift Foundation.
So the foundation really started very quickly after we got back from Colorado and kind of started our life over. And that's when we started kind of doing some research about organ donation and realized there was this huge need for education and how to register. So that became our engine. And along the way, we realized that, it's not an easy topic. Organ donation is not easy to talk about with people, right? Because
Mm.
immediately when you bring this conversation up, people start thinking of death, right? But
Mm.
organ donation and tissue donation are all about life. That's what
Yeah.
it's all about. It's all about life. organ, eye, and tissue donation. So we wanted to focus on that and start a different way of having the conversation. So we coined the phrase outlive yourself. How do you want to outlive yourself and leave a lasting difference in the lives of others? And that really started to take off as a really good, almost like a marketing campaign. But we knew we needed something to kind of make it tangible. So have you heard of the group called Movember? The men grow beards and
Yes,
mustaches in November. Yeah.
unfortunately, my husband participates in that
Well, there you go.
event.
There you go. So that's their conversation piece for a very, hard topic. That's how they spark a conversation and talk about men's health, prostate cancer, things like that. So we knew we needed something tangible. So we were very blessed that OPI nail polish partnered with us and created a Taylor blue color. And
Oh,
that color went all over the world. And most recently, over the last couple of years, Nike partnered with us and created Outlive Yourself socks. And those
ah,
socks have been really a great marketing tool to get the word out about how to outlive yourself, how to leave a lasting difference in the lives of others. And it's a great conversation piece to start with your family. I mean, instead of asking your friends and family, hey, do you want to be an organ donor? You can say, how do you want to outlive yourself? And you can say, for me, I'm a registered organ donor. I want to save lives at that time in my life. And so we started this campaign and it started to grow. But along the way, over all these years, we've always seen kind of this gap for dedicated emotional support specifically for the donor family. And years ago, we tried to kind of step into this emotional support space, but the world really wasn't ready for it. Mental health wasn't something many people would talk about or
mhm,
feel like they need. And
right.
now the world is very open to mental health and looking for it and receiving it and very open hearted to it. So it was the perfect time for us to start this program. So we started this program last year. It's called our Kindred Hearts program, and it offers free grief support to all organ, eye, and tissue donor families.
Oh, that's fantastic. That
Mhm.
is fantastic. I know the importance of support. I don't know if you've heard any of my other episodes or know much about it, but I started my
Mhm.
own foundation also. And one of our programs is a buddy program. And it's not necessarily specifically for one aspect, but it's for everybody. And so the importance of support and like mentorship and stuff, I think is so important. And I think it's fantastic that you have this program.
Yeah, it is a um, program that offers dedicated individual support and access to support groups specifically dedicated to donor families.
Yeah.
And it is peer to peer.
Yeah.
Everyone involved has experienced grief themselves.
Hmm.
And it's become a very incredible lifeline to many donor families. And along the way, this is such a need that it caught the attention of NYU Langone Health Medical. And so they really saw the need for this program across the nation. So they have partnered with us in doing a research study and pilot program surrounding our Kindred Hearts program throughout the nation. So it's going to be now, science backed about how incredible this program is for donor
That's
families.
that's really awesome. That's really cool. And there's not a whole lot of programs for donor families. Doing my own research, I mean, transplant people focus so much on, the recipients and the living donors and stuff like that. But donor families, doing my own research, don't have a lot of programs. So this
Right.
program that you're offering, this grief program, I think that's amazing. That's great.
Well, you just said that that's something so true is the fact there's a lot of programs surrounded, the recipients and things like that and their
Mhm.
families. But without the donor family, there would be no
Right.
recipients, right?
Right.
This is where it starts,
Yes.
is that yes from a donor family. That's why there's a gift of life on the other side, a
You're
second chance on the other side. So
100%. Yeah.
So for us to step in this space and be able to honor these donor families in this way in their darkest time, it's such an honor for us to provide this program.
Yeah. That's awesome. And is that what the whole program is, or do you,
Mhm.
okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, the foundation, we will always be, sharing the importance of organ donation and eye tissue donation. I mean, that's very much of our DNA is is sharing the importance of how to outlive yourself and to register and have those conversations. But our signature program is our Kindred Hearts program to
Yeah.
emotionally support donor families.
Yeah. And I love that outlive yourself
Mm,
phrase. I think that's awesome. That's really cool.
thank you.
actually wrote it down. So I think
Oh,
that's
good.
really
Thank
cool.
you.
So now that all of this has happened, I'm sure that you guys have all sat down as a family and talked about organ donation
Hmm.
and said what you want, because that's, I say that a lot to people. Sit down, have a family dinner, talk about it, and talk about what you want. And that way, whenever, if something tragically happens to you or someone that you love, that decision's already made
That's
for
right.
those other people. You're taking a burden off of other people by having this conversation. And
And
it's
it's
so
it's a
important.
hard conversation and people don't
Yes.
want to have it. So that's why we want to really encourage that, how do you want to outlive yourself? That's a much easier way to talk about it, right?
Yes.
Um, you know. So, and that could mean all sorts of things to all different people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think that you have a great foundation. And
Thank you.
the nail polish and the socks, is that still going on? Like, are they still doing that now? Or was that just kind of
Yes.
a
So
intermediate thing?
we had OPI partner with us for 3 years, and now we are
Oh,
sold out of the polish. But we do have the Nike socks. They're on our website. We're very blessed to be able to write a book, my husband and I, and it was named the most inspirational book at the Books for a Better Life Awards in New York. And so our book and the Nike socks are on taylorsgift.org.
oh, awesome. Okay. taylorsgift.org. All right. So let me ask you, well, first, before I ask you my last question, is there something else that you want to add or say about anything? I don't want to leave anything out.
I just want to maybe just say, want to encourage your listeners to really follow us on our Facebook and Instagram. Check out our website at taylorsgift.org if you know of a donor family in need of support. And it doesn't matter if they're brand new to their grief or years past the loss, we're here for them.
That's awesome. Okay, so my last question is, if you had a piece of advice to give to somebody who is just maybe just lost somebody or is just getting ready to go through this process of making that decision to donate your organs, what advice would you give them that maybe you wish you had before?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is being open to saying yes, because at that time, when someone approaches you about donating your loved one's organs, it's immediately you kind of get this feeling in your chest of, I don't know if I can do that, right? And it becomes you have that kind of feeling of fear, a little bit. And but what we have found is that yes has brought us so much healing, and it gave so much purpose to the pain we went through, knowing that Taylor had saved lives. So looking back on it, we would have said yes over and over again. And I have to say, I've never met a family who said yes to donation that has ever regretted it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't I never even
See?
thought that that would happen to anybody, that they would regret it just because you're doing so much good.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to just say, I, I didn't benefit from her loss, but I just want to say thank you to all of her recipients who received her organs.
Mm-hmm.
You said yes to on that day, and all those people now have a second chance at life. And I know, being a lung recipient myself, how much that
Mm-hmm.
means. And so I just wanted to say thank you for doing that and making that decision, because donor families are heroes to us. So thank you
Mm.
for saying yes like you did. And thank you for this foundation, and you guys are helping a lot of people, and I think it's great. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Oh, absolutely. And we love to have our, transplant recipients involved, not only Taylor's, but we have transplant recipients on our board. And, and their reason, they've told me many times, is that this is their way to honor maybe the donor family they didn't get a chance to meet, is being able to help other donor families through Taylor's Gift Foundation is a way that, I've had many transplant recipients say, this is the reason I support Taylor's Gift, because I didn't get a chance to thank my donor family, and it gives me an opportunity to help others who saved lives. So just like mine.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate this opportunity to share about our program and about Taylor's Gift Foundation to your audience.
Thank you. And just one thing to what you just said is, so I didn't get to meet I haven't met my family yet. And so I do all that I do to try and make my donor proud of me. I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is they're proud of me for doing. And so organ donation awareness and giving back to my community is so important to me, because it's a way that I feel like I'm getting closer to my donor by doing that. So,
well, Jenny, I'm going to tell you, from a donor family, you are making your donor family very proud.
Oh,
you really are.
Thank you so much for saying that. That's very nice.
You are.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. You have
Talk
a great
to you
day.
later. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Pre to Post Transplant Podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Facebook. Oh, and if you have not signed up to be an organ donor, please visit www.organdonor.gov and register today. You too can save lives.